Hong Kong cinema, the Golden Age. The period from the late 1970s to 1990 is known as the Golden Age of the Hong Kong film industry. It wouldn't be wrong to say that this was a golden era in every aspect, not just in film. Hong Kong's cantopop music also achieved massive success during this time, comparable to the global popularity of K-pop and K-dramas today. The rise of Golden Harvest. In 1970, Raymond Chow and Leonard Ho left the famous Shaw Brothers studio to establish Golden Harvest. Most people are familiar with their logo, which is frequently seen in Jackie Chan's movies. Golden Harvest started out by partnering primarily with independent producers and granting artists full creative freedom. They gave Bruce Lee, who wasn't very successful at the time, the freedom to film The Big Boss exactly as he wanted, which led to massive success. During this time, the industry giant Shaw Brothers also began shifting focus from martial arts, wuxia films, to realistic crime dramas. In the early 1970s, Jackie Chan was still working as a stuntman in Bruce Lee's films. However, by the late 1970s, Golden Harvest signed him as a lead star. Around this time, other legends like Chow Yun-fat and Jackie Chan's close friend, Sammo Hung, were also beginning their careers. Visionaries like Tsui Hark, John Woo, and Johnny began to revolutionize filmmaking. Famous stars such as Leslie Cheung, Stephen Chow, Tony Leung Chiu Wai, and Tony Leung Ka Fai rose to prominence. The crossover of music and film. Just as the film industry was booming, singers from the successful cantopop scene aggressively entered the movie business. The four heavenly kings of Hong Kong pop music all transitioned into film one after another. Andy Lau, who led the way, Jackie Chung, Leon Lai, Aaron Kwok. A generation of iconic actresses also appeared, including Brigitte Lin, Cherie Chung, Maggie Chung, and Anita Mui. The Hong Kong action genre became so successful that Hollywood eventually adopted styles like John Woo's heroic bloodshed. This period, successful from every angle between the late 70s and the 90s, is truly the golden age of Hong Kong. The rise and fall of Shaw Brothers long before Hong Kong Golden Age. Shaw Brothers was a peerless and influential studio, often regarded as the godfather of the Hong Kong film industry. Many of us grew up watching Shaw Brothers films. Even during the Golden Age, the studio played a significant role. Nearly all the major figures of that era had ties to Shaw Brothers, icons who would later become symbols of the Golden Age, such as Bruce Lee, Chow Yun-fat, Leslie Cheung, Jackie Chan, Cherry Chung, Maggie Chung, and Anita Mui all initially collaborated with the studio. However, at the dawn of the Golden Age, the Shaw Brothers' influence began to wane. By the time the Golden Age reached its peak, it marked the era of the studio's decline. It would be more accurate to say that the Hong Kong Golden Age was not a milestone of success for the Shaw Brothers, but rather a chronicle of their downfall. Let's look back at their history. In 1925, the four Shaw brothers, Runje Runde Runmei and Run Run Shaw, founded the Tianyi Film Company in Shanghai. Before long, rival studios conspired to monopolize the market, preventing Tianyi films from being screened in Shanghai and Southeast Asia. To counter this, the brothers go to Singapore to build their own distribution network. By 1927, they opened their first cinema in Singapore during the silent film era. Eventually, they expanded to a network of nearly 200 cinemas across Southeast Asia before their decline in the 1970s. Tianyi Studio, the predecessor to Shaw Brothers, was the first to adapt Chinese legends like Madame White Snake and Mulan into films, stories that are still being remade today. They were one of the pioneers of martial arts. Wuxia cinema introduced China's one of first talkie sound film and produced the first Cantonese-language Hong Kong film. Despite their pan-Asian success, World War II devastated their operations. Post-war political instability further challenged both the brothers and the entire film industry. The entity known as Shaw Brothers, Hong Kong, was officially established in 1957 when the youngest brother, Run Run Shaw, moved to Hong Kong. By the mid-1960s, it had become the largest studio in the Chinese film world and the largest privately owned studio globally. In their early years, they focused on historical and opera dramas. In 1966, the legendary director King Hu directed Come Drink With Me for the studio. As the 1960s turned into the 70s, martial arts films exploded in popularity. During this period, Shaw Brothers produced immortal classics like The One-Armed Swordsman and adaptations of Jin Yong's novels, such as The Legend of the Condor Heroes and The Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber. They also adapted Chinese classics like Dream of the Red Chamber, starring a young Brigitte Lin, The Water Margin, Journey to the West, and Romance of the Three Kingdoms. In 1970, after Raymond Chow left the Shaw Brothers to found Golden Harvest, the Shaw Brothers' influence began to dim. While Golden Harvest was revolutionizing the industry with Bruce Lee and modern kung fu films, Shaw Brothers remained focused on traditional wuxia films, starring actors like Ti Lung and David Chiang. Unable to compete with Golden Harvest in the local market, the Shaw Brothers attempted to pivot in the 1980s by investing in international co-productions and foreign films. Notably, they were investors in the landmark sci-fi film Blade Runner. During this time, they experimented with westernized styles and scouted young directors for new wave films. They frequently cast Cherie Chung, known as the Marilyn Monroe of Hong Kong. However, the audience consistently associated the Shaw Brothers with a style that was perceived as too traditional. Despite their efforts to keep up with the changing times, they couldn't bridge the gap. By 1986, they fell completely behind Golden Harvest's momentum. They eventually stopped film production and shifted their focus toward television, TVB. In the 1990s, they produced a handful of films, including 5 Stephen Chow hits like Look Out, Officer, Justice, My Foot, The Mad Monk, Love on Delivery, and Out of the Dark. During the Shaw Brothers era, Jin Yong's martial arts novels were global sensations, and the studio's wuxia films were equally successful. As the era of Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan arrived, the focus shifted from wuxia to kung fu. This was followed by the gun fu era of directors like John Woo. These periods defined the peak of the Hong Kong Golden Age. Interestingly, in 1963, the British government mandated English subtitles for Hong Kong films to monitor political content. While intended as a form of censorship, this move inadvertently made it easier for Hong Kong films to reach a global audience, becoming a cornerstone of the Golden Age. Throughout these decades, we see a cycle where one giant falls as another rises, yet each generation paved the way for the next. Hong Kong cinema, the Golden Age. When talking about the things that paved the way for the Hong Kong Golden Age, it is impossible not to mention King Hu. King Hu was a pioneer director for directors from all 3 part Chinas of mainland China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and had an influence not only on the Hong Kong Golden Age, but also on the West. He has also influenced Chinese directors such as Tsui Hark, John Woo, Ang Lee, Wong Kar-wai, Jiang Ruimu, and Tsai Ming-liang. King Hu joined the film studio in 1958 as a production designer. In 1959, King Hu starred in the film The Kingdom and the Beauty. Later, he also worked as an assistant director. Soon after, he directed films such as The Story of Susan in 1964 and Sons of the Good Earth in 1965. The first film that made King Hu famous was his first martial arts film, Come Drink With Me, which he directed in 1966. Come Drink With Me was King Hu's first successful film and is a landmark film in terms of both historical and artistic value. There are many things that have evolved from Come Drink With Me in the history of martial arts films. Hollywood also used some elements from Come Drink With Me in the famous film The Mask of Zorro, and King Hu firstly introduced the famous drunkard martial art of Jackie Chan and his group in Come Drink With Me. Before King Hu and during King Hu's time, there were many famous directors who made martial arts films mainly. There were Chang Che, who directed One-Armed Sword Man, who often adapted Jin Yong novels, and Cho Yuen, who often adapted Gu Long novels. However, King Hu did not make films based on such modern writers, but often used ancient Chinese books and ancient legends. Chang Che and Cho Yuen's martial arts films are often violent. King Hu is a Zen-inspired and philosophical filmmaker. Another difference is that King Hu greatly values Peking opera. There are operatic scenes in all his films. He is also known as who invented sword opera in sword play scene. King Hu also encouraged Peking opera and encouraged Peking opera graduates like Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung to enter the film industry. He always incorporates Chinese art and historical information into his films. He also has a thriller atmosphere like Alfred Hitchcock. He was influenced by Kurosawa's samurai films. This influence is quite visible in the sword-fighting scenes. Therefore, King Hu uses the presentation of samurai films, and he uses Western editing styles in his editing. He combined these with ancient Chinese art. Because of this unique style, King Hu was clearly superior to his contemporaries in art. One thing is that he was able to study Western and Japanese styles well, thanks to Shaw Brothers, Raymond Chow. And King Hu studied Western films in Shaw Brothers, and Shaw's sent his crew to Japan to study Japanese systems. In Come Drink With Me, King Hu used a female protagonist. This was unique in his time. It was also unprecedented among his contemporaries. The actress Cheng Pei Pei, who King Hu made as protagonist in Come Drink With Me, became a name and became famous later, and even appeared in a Stephen Chow film and Ang Lee film as a tribution. His contemporary Chang Che also used the same character in Come Drink With Me and made another film with Cheng Pei Pei. King Hu did not seem to want to continue. That film did not even reach the level of King Hu's film. Because of the market-oriented approach of the Shaw Brothers, King Hu moved from Hong Kong to Taiwan, where he did have full artistic freedom. In Taiwan, he made his next classic film, Dragon in 1967. This film seemed to give him the artistic freedom he wanted. From this film, he began to use Chun Shi, who would become the usual main actor in his films. Just as Kurosawa had a usual actor, he too had a usual actor. Dragon In was a success and became a landmark film in Chinese cinema. It was later remade, and famous Taiwanese director Tsai Ming-liang made a film honoring Dragon In, Goodbye, Dragon In. From this point on, King Hu became an important figure not only in the history of Hong Kong cinema, but also in the history of Taiwanese cinema. Quentin Tarantino also used some elements of Dragon in The Hateful Eight. It was not until 4 years later that King Hu made his next film. This time, he also produced another classic, A Touch of Zen, in 1971. In this film, King Hu adapted from strange tales from a Chinese studio, which would later become the manual for some of his films. He adapted A Touch of Zen from short story of same title from Strange Tales from Chinese studio. Although his earlier films also featured ancient Chinese philosophies, A Touch of Zen used Zen philosophy more strongly. It won a Technical Award at the Cannes Film Festival and is considered his masterpiece. The success of the film helped to bring Hong Kong New Wave films to international attention. The Battle of the Bamboo Grove in A Touch of Zen is also a classic scene. Aung Lee's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, 2000, and Zhang Yimou's House of Flying Daggers, 2004, were heavily influenced by a touch of Zen. Aung Lee also used King Hu's actress Chung Pei in his film. Wang Kar-wai's Ashes of Time was also a great influence on this film. A perfectionist, King Hu took 3 years to shoot the film, from the sunset to the final shot. In that era, without CGI, he also invented new editing techniques to create supernatural fight scenes. He also studied a lot of historical information. He also studied ancient costumes to portray the appearance of each character. King Hu was a director who was a perfectionist in all aspects. We can say King Hu only made 3 real wushu films, but he is called the king of wushu films. He is also recognized as the pioneer of all Chinese martial arts films. After that, King Hu established his own production company and continued to make films. The Fate of Li Khan, 1973, and The Valiant Ones, 1975. They were distributed by the famous Golden Harvest of Hong Kong's Golden Age. It was not long after the establishment of Golden Harvest. Sammo Hung was action director. Sammo Hung was better than Jackie Chan in this aspect. King Hu's last film also starred Sammo Hung. These latter films were critically acclaimed, but were not commercially successful. 4 years later, in 1979, King Hu made 2 films, Reigning in the Mountain and Legend of the Mountain. Both were shot in an 8th century temple in South Korea, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Not only are they unique in terms of location, but they are also King Hu's transformation films. For me, Legend of the Mountain is King Hu's true masterpiece. After massive success of Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan's fast-paced kung fu action movies, it's no wonder that this film, which is filled with 3 hours of walking and talking, was not popular. But Legend of the Mountain is not a boring film. It's an interesting story from a strange tale from Chinese studio. It was a very good movie with a beautiful plot. But these movies were a failure. The producer had to cut the running time. Satraj Ray told King Hu not to cut it, but he had to cut it to 1 hour and a half. The editor who edited it later cried because he had edited the movie. He said, "I understand Director Hu's loneliness. King Hu's later years were lonely." He made The Juvenizer and Heaven's Blessing in 1981 and The Wheel of Life and All the King's Men in 1983, but they were not successful. After that, he moved to California. These times were his most lonely years, a time when no one understood him. In 1990, he returned to America for a short time and directed The Swordsman, which was an adaptation of Jin Yong's The Smiling Proud Wanderer. This kind of work had nothing to do with his style. So he left halfway through. In 1992, he made another movie adaptation of short story from Strange Tales from Chinese studio The Painted Skin. It's starring his students Sammo Hung and famous actress Joey Wong. In this film, we see how Hong Kong's Golden Age and King Hu are not related. After being forced to make films according to the standards of the Hong Kong Golden Age, this film became a King Hu film that was almost devoid of King Hu characters. After that, King Hu planned to make The Battle of Ono, which was about the Chinese in America building the railway. There were also rumors that Chow Yun-fat would be cast. Chow Yun-fat also read the script and said that it was his dream role. However, King Hu cannot make his dream come true and passed away in 1997. King Hu was a man who led the Chinese film industry in everything from editing to costume selection, lighting, and swordplay. The end of a great director from all over China ended in a situation there was no one who really understood him, but they all know that they have all walked the many paths he has paved. They acknowledged that Tsui Hark also said that his films were inspired by King Hu's films. John Woo also said that his films were gun operas that evolved from King Hu's sword operas. Even Wong Kar-wai's camera concept came from King Hu, but King Hu didn't even have a good producer for 15 years before his death. King Hu saved up money to make a film by putting a piece of bread in the refrigerator and mixing it with milk, and he ate that food up to 5 days. He used all the money he earned from his success to make more films. The film director who loved films so much died with only $2,000 in his bank account. I don't know if true art is truly worthy of this world and these people. I must say that King Hu gave everything for the film and got nothing in return. Hong Kong cinema, the Golden Age. We dive into the history of Golden Harvest, the studio that defined the golden age of Hong Kong cinema. From the 1970s through the 1980s, they didn't just participate in the market, they owned it. We can say that Golden Harvest was the studio that started the Hong Kong Golden Age. The founder, Raymond Chow, was once a top executive and the right-hand man to Sir Run Shaw at Shaw Brothers. Despite his high-ranking position, Chow grew frustrated with the factory system, which prioritized profit over art and kept stars under restrictive, low-paying contracts. So, he left Shaw Brothers in 1970. Chow made the risky move of leaving the industry giant to start his own small company alongside partners Liang Feng and Leonard Ho. Now, this decision can be said to be 100% correct, considering the subsequent successes of Golden Harvest. When they first started, Shaw Brothers was the biggest company in Hong Kong, a company that had a monopoly on the entire market. Leaving such a big company to start your own small company was a crazy decision. To many, this looked like a fool's errand, competing with Shaw Brothers. But Chow had a different vision. He wanted to build a company based on partnerships and creative freedom rather than rigid control. He saw that the film industry could be more successful if he established a company that built more personal relationships with the actors. And he did. Unlike Shaw Brothers, Golden Harvest's success was built on the actors. But it wouldn't have been possible without Raymond Chow's ability to build good relationships with the actors. I saw a similar situation in the Tom Cruise's movie Jerry Maguire. The movie was about the relationship between an athlete and an agent. It's about a man who leaves an agency that's run purely by business and builds a more heartfelt relationship between an athlete and an agent. Raymond Chow's story is similar. In 1970, shortly after the studio opened, Golden Harvest released The Angry River. True to their original intention, they hired new directors. This film also debuted Angela Mao, who would become one of Golden Harvest's stars, known as Lady Kung Fu. Angela Mao was Golden Harvest's face before Bruce Lee. She also appeared in King Hu's The Fate of Lee Khan. She also played Bruce Lee's sister in Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon, 1973. The film that made Golden Harvest famous was Bruce Lee's The Big Boss. Bruce Lee also left his contract because the Shaw Brothers offered him too little money. So Raymond Chow gave Bruce Lee artistic freedom and a share of the profits from the film. Golden Harvest's way of working was different from other studios of the time. Although it was a studio, it could be said that the production company was the actors themselves, and they were allowed to shoot as they pleased. For example, Bruce Lee's Concord Productions later produced Bruce Lee's films. Although Raymond Chow owned half of the production, Bruce Lee was given complete artistic freedom. Raymond Chow was only responsible for financial management. Raymond Chow was the one who respected and encouraged the artist's freedom. This is why he became more successful than Shaw Brothers. When Bruce Lee's The Big Boss was released in 1971, it broke records at the Hong Kong box office, and Golden Harvest became famous. During this period, Raymond Chow also hired Sammo Hung to make films. They allowed new one-armed swordsman's famous superstar Jimmy Wang Yu to make a film that he wrote, directed, and starred in himself. This film was made by Wang Yu for free. Later, he continued to make films at Golden Harvest. Golden Harvest's success came from competing against the Shaw Brothers' traditional wuxia films with modern kung fu films. However, before and after the days of Bruce Lee, Golden Harvest itself only made martial arts films. At the same time as they produced Bruce Lee's films, they also produced films by Angela Mao, Sammo Hung, and Wang Yu. Bruce Lee's films were successively successful, but Bruce Lee died in 1973, less than 3 years later. I will talk about Bruce Lee in more detail in the next episode. After Bruce Lee's death, the studio's name was firmly established, but it seemed as if its star had disappeared. Golden Harvest tried to find an actor who could replace Bruce Lee. During this period, the stars who were there were the Hui brothers, Angela Mao, and Sammo Hung. He also worked with Yuan Wuping. After Bruce Lee's death, these people had to fill the void left by Bruce Lee. Jackie Chan was at Golden Harvest at this time, but he was only there as a choreographer and under the dark umbrella of the big boss director Lo Wei. These were not his successful years. Jackie Chan worked as a choreographer in John Woo's debut film, produced by Golden Harvest. Before and during the early years of Jackie Chan, Golden Harvest still massively produced traditional martial arts films. During this period, they also produced the legendary King Hu's films The Fate of Lee Khan and The Valiant Ones. Jackie Chan's first success was in Snake in the Eagle's Shadow, directed by Yuan Wuping. This film was produced by Seasonal Film Corporation. Later, in the 1980s, Golden Harvest signed a contract with Jackie Chan. Initially, they planned to make Jackie Chan the new Bruce Lee under Lo Wei, but it did not work out. It was also very difficult for Jackie Chan. He even went abroad to quit. This time, Jackie Chan succeeded in his own style around the world. He followed Bruce Lee's success in his own way, not in Bruce Lee's way. These were the most successful years for Golden Harvest. Raymond Chow had more than a working relationship with Jackie Chan, and Jackie Chan mentioned in his autobiography that they had a good relationship. In the 1980s, Golden Harvest also worked to break into the international market. They also had Jackie Chan film abroad and produced foreign films. These foreign films were not successful and had to be withdrawn from the foreign market. After that, his company released the films of the Three Dragons, Jackie, Sammo, and Yuan Biao, one by one and in series. During this period, John Woo and Tsui Hark, who would soon establish a new era, were also at Golden Harvest. In the 1990s, Golden Harvest co-produced Jet Li's famous Once Upon a Time in China with Tsui Hark's Film Workshop production. Later, they also produced their own films with Jet Li. In the 1990s, in addition to Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung, Jet Li and Donnie Yen were also at Golden Harvest. Not long after, Jet Li went on strike because he was dissatisfied with his contract with Golden Harvest, and then he founded his own production. In the mid-1990s, Jackie Chan also moved to Hollywood and founded his own production company. In the 1990s, Golden Harvest's main star was Ekin Cheng, and in the last years before film production stopped, Golden Harvest tried to promote Nicholas Tse. In 2007, Raymond Chow also left Golden Harvest. At that time, Orange Sky bought Golden Harvest, and it became Orange Sky Golden Harvest. Raymond Chow left Shaw Brothers because he wanted to rebel against the corporate tyrant system of Run Run Shaw. Then he met another rebel, Bruce Lee, and they opened a new era. Golden Harvest is not just a studio, but a movement. This movement was the beginning of the golden age of Hong Kong. However, in later years, he himself became a corporate tycoon like Run Run Shaw. The case of Jet Li is the most obvious example. In the 80s and 90s, John Woo, Tsui Hark, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, etc. all founded their own production companies. Tsui Hark criticized Raymond Chow for becoming the corporate tycoon he opposed. There was a saying, "You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain." It's important not to forget the beginning. The beginning is something that should never be forgotten. While these problems were still going on, in 1997, Hong Kong was handovered to the mainland under the two-country and one-system situation. There was less freedom in filmmaking. The mainland also used Hong Kong to build its film industry. I will talk about these in detail in the final chapters, around over 30. The situation in 1997 was already written in the stars, so the years approaching, 1997 were the years of the end of Hong Kong, and they all already known. Just before 1997, Taiwan, the main source of funding and main customer of Hong Kong films since the Shaw Brothers era, also completely abandoned Hong Kong. This situation also affected the larger studios of that time, such as Golden Harvest. During the Shaw Brothers era, films were shot and then sold to Taiwan. Golden Harvest had a situation where it had to pre-sale because it did not have enough money. After them, Taiwan became Hong Kong's main core completely, even to the point where the budget for production had to be approved by Taiwan. This history will be discussed in parts over 30. Due to the impact of 97 and other reasons, many of Hong Kong's leading actresses such as Cherry Chung, Brigitte Lin and Joey Wong retired under uncertain circumstances. Then Leslie Cheung and Anita Mui also passed away. This meant that two of Hong Kong's three main pillars had collapsed. The quality of Hong Kong's films also fell, as all Hong Kong people had already known that the end would come. With all these factors combined, the golden age of Hong Kong films, which had been so influential, was coming to an end, as all Hong Kongers already knew. But I think some believe in 2047 in some way. In the next part, we will introduce Bruce Lee.